Fairy Dirt by Thomley. Chapter 5. Were you able to find anything on that address that I sent you last night? Brynn asked Max as they made their way to first period.
I looked it up online last night. It wasn't as fruitful as I hoped it would be. I couldn't find a name to go with it, but I saved the directions on how to get there. I don't suppose you would be able to get away long enough to go with me, would you? It could be a fun adventure.
Today? You know that I can't. Are you sure you are willing to go there? There is no telling who that address even belongs to. You could be going on a wild goose chase or something worse. The address is from a fairy. A whole other set of rules apply here, babe. I don't think it's safe. Let's give it a little more time to come up with a better plan. They sat down at their table, and Max sighed.
Trust me, this is the only way. There has to be a way to help us, and I am going to figure it out. If I don't go tonight, I will just sit at home and play video games. That's lame. I can't choose laziness over us. I want to be able to tell the whole world that you are mine, Brynn. It's something I have wanted from my first day at this school.
He grabbed her hand and held it tightly under the table. Her heart fluttered wildly as their fingers interlaced. She knew that he was right. They had to find a way. Quickly. Brynn was excited at the possibility of Max getting answers, but she was scared at the same time. She couldn't shake the feeling she was getting that something bad was in the works. She hoped that she was just being paranoid because it wouldn't make a difference to him anyway. He wasn't going to change his mind now. She knew that he was going regardless of the bad feeling she had. Guys could be so stubborn. She just wished that there was someone who could go with him. He needed to have backup. She couldn't tell anyone else her secret, though. It was already putting Max in jeopardy. One endangered person was more than enough. They discussed what he would say if he found Madeline in his search during their classes. He was planning to leave right after school, so they wouldn't have another chance to talk. This was all happening so fast. Too fast. She thought they'd have more time. She didn't like jumping into anything without a plan. It was too stressful. Brynn jotted down a list of things she needed him to talk to Madeline about. She knew that he would be fine on his own, but she couldn't leave anything out. This could be their one and only shot at getting answers. Ever. She needed to know what really happened to Madeline's boyfriend. Was she really able to blend into human society and live a semi-normal life? What were their genuine risks? How many of the rumors she had heard growing up were real and not just embellished bullshit? When the final bell rang, her heart sank. She caught a glimpse of Max in the parking lot as he was getting into his car. He gave her a quick wink and smile, but then he was gone. She choked back the giant lump in her throat and began to walk home. She turned on the Discman she was thankful to have since she couldn't have music on her phone, popped in her earbuds and tried to tune everything else out on her walk. She couldn't show up in tears. She would cast a spell on herself if she thought it were even worth trying. Realistically, she would just muck it up and feel worse about things afterward. Thank God she skipped out on her chores and duties around the house so far this week. She had no protests to training today. There was nothing else for her to do, and this was her chance to keep her mom in her good graces. In the event that anything she and Max were trying were to go awry, she would need her mom on her side. If she could just get a spell right today, she could lay low again for a few days if need be. The more spells she tried, the better her chances of getting one right had to be. So she decided to do as many spells as it took. Her first one was the shrinking spell that she had done the day before. She was sure that she could get that one right again, and she was correct about that. Once she started to cast, she was itty-bitey in no time at all. One down, she thought to herself, feeling quite a bit more amped. It wasn't often that she was able to feel confident while casting. She kept doing spell after spell, and she was nailing every single one of them. She didn't know what had come over her. It had to be the emotions that she was feeling about Max. She was never this fired up. It was the only thing that was different from every other time she practiced. She took a look around her and noticed that everyone had stopped casting their own spells. Their eyes were all on her. It made her feel even more empowered. She wanted them all, especially Fiona, to eat their words.
Well, well, what has come over you, my girl?
She turned quickly to see her mom standing there, hands on her hips, admiring her handiwork. I don't know, she said with a chuckle. I guess I just got tired of everyone making me feel like a jackass. It was partially true. No need to bring up the Max factor.
Whatever it takes, Brynn. You're doing a great job. Come on inside and get washed up for dinner.
She followed behind her mom, trying not to smile too much. She didn't know what she was happier about, her spell success, or her mom's rarely seen encouragement. Either way, this was a good day. It would be even better once she heard from Max. She was excited that she was going to have a chance to brag to someone about how well her spells had gone for once. Her mom had dinner under wraps, so she showered and went downstairs to eat as soon as she was finished. It was hard not to pick at her food, considering how nervous her stomach was. Thank God no one in her family was clairvoyant. She couldn't think about anything but Max and what he might find out about Madeline. She excused herself pretty early and went to her room. Her day had been successful enough that no one gave her a hard time. She was so worried that she hadn't heard from Max yet. That had to mean that he was having an intense conversation with Madeline. At least that was what she kept telling herself. She sat in bed for hours waiting to hear from him until she finally fell asleep. When her phone chirped at 3 a.m, it startled her awake. She rolled over to grab her phone and check the message. It was from Max. Her pulse was already kicking into high gear.
I forgot to ask you something very important when we were in the park.
What? She replied, feeling very confused and sleepy. That wasn't the message she was expecting to see.
If fairies exist, then what other supernatural things are out there? What else is real?
Max, you aren't making any sense. Are you okay? She didn't know if it was him or just her still being half asleep. Something was off, though. Why was he being so cryptic? She just needed him to say if the mission was a success or failure.
I need to see you now. How can we make that happen?
Max seemed serious, so she decided to risk it. He knew what the stakes would be for her to leave at this time of night. He wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. She cast the shrinking spell on herself once again and slipped out of her bedroom window. Being super small makes you very light on your feet, so she sailed off of her balcony and to the ground with no problem. It was kind of exhilarating. They agreed to meet at their usual spot in the park, so she headed off in that direction. She snuck through the crack in the fence that Max had watched her through. If no one had fixed that crack yet, she knew they wouldn't notice her leaving through it tonight. They probably didn't even know it was there. Max was sitting in the gazebo when she got there. He was dressed in jeans and a black hoodie pulled down over part of his face. It was a little more emo-looking than he usually dressed, which definitely piqued her curiosity. He very rarely had anything covering his hair. It was one of his best features. He said nothing as she made her way to him. "Are you okay?" she yelled out as she got a bit closer, but there was still no word from him. The unusually crisp summer breeze swept by her, sending a chill down her back. She shivered for a brief moment. His strange behavior was beginning to scare her, and she was getting nervous. "Hey," she said as she stepped into the gazebo. "What the hell is She trailed off. Max looked up at her and he didn't have to say a word. She understood what the urgency and the strange behavior was about. His olive skin was much paler now than it was when she said goodbye to him at school. His lips were rosy, and his already golden eyes were now an absolutely brilliant shade. "Who did this to you?" she choked out in barely a whisper.
I take it you know what has happened to me then? I don't know his name. When I asked him why he was doing it, he said it was for Fiona. Do you know what that could mean? I don't even know anyone named Fiona.
His bottom lip had blood marks on it from where his fangs must have come out for the first time. He looked youthful and fatigued at the same time somehow. How could this have happened? Brynn was dumbfounded. She just stood there in disbelief. Her sister had done this to him. It dawned on her that she had been very careful never to mention any of the other fairy girls' names to him. It was for his own protection. He had no idea who her sister was. He couldn't just be making that part up.
Earth to Brynn. Did you hear me?
He asked, snapping her back to reality. He had such an attitude right now, but who could blame him? His life had just been changed drastically and permanently. Why the fuck did this happen to me? Fiona is my sister. She couldn't say any more than that. She didn't know what to say. The blank expression on her face didn't give justice to the swarm of emotions she was feeling. This was all her fault. She should have gone with him. She knew it would be dangerous. Why did she have to ignore the bad feeling that she had? His life was ruined now because of her.
Why the hell would your sister want to do this to me? Does she even know who I am?
His voice was curt. The anger was just seeping out of him. I don't know, Brynn cried out, feeling desperate. I never even talked to my sister. She's a bitch. How could she know who you are?
She must not want us to be together. This will work out well for her then. Now that I am a freak of the night, I don't know when I can even see you. I definitely can't go to school. Not unless I am feeling a bit suicidal. God only knows what I'm going to tell my parents. This isn't something that I can just explain away.
Tell me exactly what happened to you.
I never made it to the address you gave me. I was getting close. It's over in that nice neighborhood that's at the edge of our school district. It had just started getting dark. Something ran out in front of the car. I thought I missed it, but it felt like I ran something over. I pulled over to see what it was. I was afraid that it was a person because it felt pretty large. Once I made it to the passenger side, this guy was on me. I didn't even have a chance to react. The pain was intense. Once the pain stopped, I don't know. It felt like a weird bond with this guy. I tried asking him questions. He just said what he said about Fiona. He told me to get back in my care and make it home and indoors before the sun came up, or I would be a goner.
He didn't give you his name?
It all seemed to happen so fast. It feels like a dream. A bad fucking dream.
Max, I am so sorry. This is all my fault. I should have just tried harder to mislead you. If I stopped being your friend, you would be okay.
It's my fault. I insisted on going alone. What am I going to do now, though?
Let me do some research. I will figure something out, Max. I promise. But right now, I am going to get some answers. You have to make sure you get home before the sun rises. It won't be safe once the first sunbeams peek out from the horizon. Even that could be too much sun for you. She wanted to kiss him goodbye, but she didn't know if that was a good idea. He had to be thirsty. She had never met a vampire before. She knew that they existed, of course. They were all taught when they were young that there were other mystical beings out there. They were referred to as mystica. Vampires were said to be the most dangerous of them all. They were driven by desire and could be unpredictable. Fairies were taught that vampires were undead children of the night and were to be feared. She was too angry right now to be afraid of Max. She just sat there next to him, staring into those blazing eyes. He took her in his arms and kissed her anyway. It must have taken great strength for him to do that. She could feel a slight tremble in his icy touch. The iron taste of his lips was startling, but it made the reality of the situation sink in so much more for her.
Be careful, Brynn, and call me if you are in any trouble. I can be there in the blink of an eye now. I don't care what they do. Nothing is going to keep us apart.
He winked at her, and he was gone. She wished that she could get home as quickly as him. She raced home as hastily as she could and made a beeline for Fiona's room once she was there. When she walked in, Fiona was sitting on the cushion set in her bay window that overlooked the garden. "Do you have something to say to me?" Brynn stood by the door, her fists clenched.
I assume you are referring to your baby vampire boyfriend?
Brynn wanted to slap the smirk right off of her face. How the hell did you even know about him?
I saw you lurking around Mom's room. I cast an invisibility spell on myself so I could watch you. You were clearly up to something. I saw you rifle through her drawers, take a picture of the letters and text it to him. I wrote down the address when you left, and I called in a favor to a friend.
She sat there on the windowsill, acting proud of her superior self. Why would you do that? Was it just to torture me? You just couldn't stand the thought of me being happy, could you? Was the thought of me having a boyfriend too much? Or was it finally having successful spellcasting that pushed you over the edge? Why do you have to be such a bitch?
Get a clue, Brynn. First of all, just because I don't like you doesn't mean I am an asshole. Maybe I say mean things to you, but it is what it is. You are older than me, so I have to work harder to show you up. I want to be first in line. Second, think about everything we have learned. Humans can't know about our existence. Max isn't a human anymore, is he? Doesn't that solve your fucking problem?
Brynn sat on the edge of Fiona's bright pink bed, a bit dumbfounded. She had a point. Mystica all knew about each other already. They wouldn't have to worry about him knowing everything if he already knew it. Still, the elders wouldn't like them being together. This whole situation was giving her a headache. She got up to leave the room. I'm sorry I jumped to conclusions, Fiona. I'm sure you can see why I would do that. You have never done anything nice for me in the past. I don't know if Max will feel better about this or not. But thank you, I guess. I still don't know if I trust what you are saying now or not either.
I think he will see the good in this eventually. And Brynn, if he is having trouble with sunlight, do some spell research. You might find a solution, if you can actually figure it out for once. Good night.
Could she not include an insult in every comment? What a bitch. Brynn closed the door and headed to her own bedroom. She was comforted in one way, but so confused in another. Why would Fiona do anything to benefit her? Was she just full of crap right now, or was she being genuine? It was hard to even know how to tell. All she had ever done was cut Brynn down, even when they were small children. This was definitely the last thing she expected to be dealing with tonight. She knew he shouldn't have gone alone. She tried to think about everything she had learned about vampires over the years. She knew that they were technically dead. They could go out only in the darkness, and they could draw extra power from other mystica when they consumed their blood. She thought about what Fiona said about researching spells. There must be one that would help Max go out in the sunlight. Tomorrow was Saturday, so she would spend the day in the library researching spells since there was no school. For now, she would try to get some sleep after sending a quick message to Max. I think I can help you with the sunlight debacle. Meet me at the park tomorrow night as soon as it gets dark enough. Please like and subscribe for more free audiobook content.